It is missing anti-lock brakes. That's not anti-lock. So my grandpa had just turned 90 and he's proven he's still safe to drive. And he drives this car, a Toyota Camry. I'd love to get him into a newer car with more advanced safety features like automatic emergency braking and blind spot monitoring, let alone something like anti-lock brakes. But I can't get him into a new car until this one breaks down, and this won't break down! It's no secret that Camrys are reliable, but surely something has to break at some time. I was brainstorming with my grandparents what problems they've had with this car over the course of ownership over 19 years. The radiator, that was only a few years ago. The brake master cylinder didn't go out, but it was getting spongy when they'd press the brake. And they had a smog control device called a VSV, which is this itty bitty little part that mounts to the back of the engine. The car runs fine without it, but the check engine light comes on, and in California you can't pass smog with the check engine light, so that was a couple $100 to repair. Other than that, that's about it. The only thing that's broken is here. My grandpa kept pressing the little AC printing. But it's a Camry, and the first rule of being a car fan is that you gotta diss on the Camry because it's boring and it's slow and it's Toyota. Midway through the production of this car, Toyota did admit that their styling was a little bit bland. So they took the flat tail lights and they dropped them down. Oh, look how sporty that is. Now I suppose if you had to fix something on this car, Toyota thought of that as well. Everything is really easy to get to. Battery's bad, it's right there with tons of room to work on it. Radiator goes bad, no problem, you got tons of space to get that out. Oh, what about the alternator? Right here on top. What about the starter motor? The starter motor, it's right there. What car can you change the starter motor without having to crawl underneath? The Camry. Spark plugs. No problem, they're right there. Intake manifold and smog devices, right there. Top motor mount, right there. I mean, there's just oodles of space to work in here. Air conditioner compressor, right there. It's no wonder you keep seeing so many of these on the road. People who want to fix them and keep them going can fix them and keep them going.
I love what you do for me, Toyota.
That's the sound of a Lexus. I know that's nothing to get excited about, but I always love that Toyota chime. So it looks like we're just over 220,000 miles, and I'm waiting for that critical flaw that's finally going to take this car down. I mean, how often do you find a car? Well, there's something problem there. The power steering pump is squealing. Okay, and away we go. The suspension's got a little bit of a clunk to it as you go bump, 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 bump down the road. I don't really care for that, but just clunky shocks in and of themselves isn't necessarily grounds to replace the car, you know. Okay, we'll enter the freeway here. See, that's not even flooring it. That's enough power. It's not an amazing amount of power, but it's enough power. This car may not give you everything you want, but it certainly has plenty of anything you need. I'm going 65, I'm keeping up with the traffic, not having any problems. But I can kick down the transmission and still get more. The transmission feels good for an old 4-speed. It just sort of locks up and goes. It just glides down the freeway. I don't know how they got it so good. This was the first automatic transmission I actually liked. This car might, and I say might, use 1 quart of oil every 5,000 miles, so between oil changes. For 220,000 miles, that's pretty darn good. I mean, not shocking from a Japanese automaker, but still, for a 20-year-old car. I mean, when I was in high school, I was driving a 20-year-old car, and I'd have to add a quart of oil every 55 miles. Exactly, every 55 miles. So 5,000 doesn't sound too bad. It's not sporty when you're going around corners. You get kind of a whoa feeling as you go around a little fast, but it's not floaty like an old Buick or something. We talk about a car going 200,000 miles like it's some sort of just run-of-the-mill, like, oh yeah, and the sky's blue, what else? But cars weren't always this way. I mean, you remember the Camrys and Cressidas and Corollas of the 1980s, and everybody would rave about how they'd go 150,000 miles, and that was a Cressida my family had. We had two of them, actually, and they both blew the engine at 150,000 miles. We thought, wow, what a reliable car. 150,000 relatively trouble-free miles. Because the Chevys and Fords at the time would do 95,000 miles, and you'd have to rebuild the top half of the engine. Well, now 200, 300,000 even on the cheapest Chevy is run-of-the-mill. But this car was right in that window. I think this was the first car that was built for 200,000 miles. People who bought this weren't expecting to go 200,000 trouble-free miles with this car. You know, my sister-in-law had one of these, 95 Camry, I believe. She'd probably still be driving it too if somebody hadn't inconveniently decided to stop right in front of her cell phone. True fact. This was an engine before there were tricks, you know, variable valve timing and turbochargers. It was just a straight displacement, 2.2 liter, and it's fine. Sure, you want more power, but you don't need more power.
It's not weird to see one of these old Camrys on the road because we see them all the time. But when's the last time you saw one of the Camry's competitors? The Dodge Intrepid? Well, if you didn't maintain it, your water pump blew up and took the engine with it. The Chevy Impala? Well, if you didn't maintain it, the transmission disintegrates into a long, whiny, painful death. The Ford Taurus? Well, if you didn't maintain it, it eventually overheats and the head cracks and bye-bye engine. The Buick Regal. Pretty much everything breaks whether you maintain it or not. To be fair, the Nissan Altima and Honda Accord were pretty reliable, but if you didn't maintain it, eventually the transmission gives out. And that's sort of what makes the Camry special, especially considering so many of their owners just don't maintain their cars.
They just keep waiting for the automatic transmission to go out. That's what usually kills these automatic transmission cars. And that was true of the Toyotas up until this one. This one, the transmission just won't. And it's not like my grandparents put a lot of money into maintaining the transmission. They probably had it serviced twice, jumping on the freeway here. Plenty of power, no problem. All the power you need, but not a single horsepower more. Yeah, everything works. All the lights on the dash, radio, the air conditioner, I don't even think it's ever been charged. Airbag, seatbelt, shifter, lights, emergency brake, no cracks anywhere in the interior. The seats still look clean and new. This thing can almost pass as a certified pre-owned Toyota if they put it through the check. It is missing anti-lock brakes. When you really brake it, that's not anti-lock. That actually skidded a lot more than I expected. Sorry, Grandpa. I guess I owe him some tires.
If we're honest, this car is a weed on America's automotive garden. Nobody planted it, but it's everywhere, and it won't go away. And no matter how bad the storm is or how bad the drought, it just continues to persist in the yard. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Camry, with more style than ever, more luxury than ever, more value than ever before.